Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lesson 6 on Modern Existentialism. The name of this sixth lesson, as you see on the screen, is the Existentialist Ethics. And friends, this is a very, very important lesson. I probably say the same thing about each one of my lessons, but anyways, this lesson is really, really important. And since we're going to be talking about ethics and morality, I think it's necessary to start defining those two terms. After all, morality means so many different things to different people, friends. There's so much confusion about what's morality and what is ethics, and people sometimes use these two terms interchangeably. For example, they say, "Oh, lying is immoral" or "lying is unethical," and they think they mean the exact same thing. So it's very important to be clear about the words we're going to be using here, and these are the most fundamental words in this lesson. And this is how we're going to start then. Let's start defining morality. What is morality? Okay, this is a definition that I use in class with my students in our ethics class. Morality is about my actions or words to other people and the clear positive or negative impact of those actions or words on those people. That's it. Let me say it again. Morality is about my actions or words to other people and the clear positive or negative impact of those actions or words on those people. Okay, within that definition, I'll give you an example of what is a moral action. So we know how to distinguish actions that are moral or they are within the domain of morality and actions that are not within the domain of morality. Because after all, friends, we do all sorts of things, right? There are all sorts of different actions. So we need to understand what actions are moral. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say I see my neighbor who lives on the third floor and there's no elevator in our building and she's carrying a bunch of bags and packages and she's having a hard time going up the stairs. And I say, "Hey, neighbor, can I help you with the bags and packages?" And she says, "Yes." So I help her. Once we reach her floor, she says, "Thank you." Okay. That is a moral action, a good moral action. Good because it has a clear positive impact on my neighbor. And by clear, this is an important word. By clear, this is what I mean. If I do the same thing for you or for anybody, everybody will recognize the positive value of my action. They will all be, in the end, grateful for my action, for my help. That's what makes it clear, the impact clear. Now, let's say I'm driving and I see somebody on the side of the road with a flat tire. And let's say it's an elderly man. So he's also struggling. I decide to stop, pull over, and I help him change the tire. At the end, he says, "Thank you." Okay, that is another example of a moral action, a positive, good moral action. Because again, the impact is clearly, clearly positive. If I do the same for you and for anybody, they will all appreciate my action and they will see the positive value of my action. I will be making their lives better off in a very concrete way. So, okay, so that is an example of a good moral action. Now, a bad moral action or an immoral action, let's say. Okay, let's say I find myself in a supermarket and I'm shopping and I step on someone's toes, okay, accidentally, and um, and I say I'm sorry. Okay, the person probably is upset, but okay, whether the person accepts my apology or not, that's irrelevant. Stepping on someone's toes is immoral. Clearly has a clear negative impact on the person. And by clear, again, I mean if I accidentally step on your toes or in anyone's toes, everybody, most likely, right? Everybody will feel upset. So the impact, because no one likes to feel pain, right? So that's a pretty objective criteria, let's say, in determining positive and negative impact, negative in this case. So, okay, so the impact is clearly negative. Stepping on someone's toes, even if it's accidental, it's wrong. So you must apologize for it. Okay, now when we use words as an example, okay, words are more tricky. But let's start with the easy examples. Actually, let's start with an example that a student proposed in class quite recently. And she said that telling people good morning, it's a good moral action. All right, acknowledging people with a good morning. And I remember telling the student, I'm not sure about that because I don't see how you can make someone's life like better off. I don't see how you can make someone's life better in any concrete way by just telling the person good morning. Like if it's me and I go, let's say I go to a doctor's office and people tell me somebody, a nurse or whatever, a front desk person says good morning to me and I reply good morning. Okay, that's nice to do. I mean, it's not wrong, but I don't see a clear positive impact on me. And if you ask people, some people don't care. Like if you say good morning to them, if you acknowledge them, some people like it, some people don't like it, or some people don't care. So it's difficult to establish clarity and objectivity. And I could say the same thing about myself. If I go to a place, doctor's office, nobody says good morning to me, that's fine with me. I'm not gonna feel offended. But that's exactly why words are tricky because some people do get offended. Some people do. If you don't acknowledge them, they will feel deeply offended. But here's the thing, since being offended, if we're going to use that as a negative impact, being offended, okay, then we need clarity, we need objectivity. And by that, I mean, once again, if if everybody, if you do the same thing to everybody and everybody or most people give you the same answer, they say yes, that's not nice, yeah, that's offensive, okay, then you have clarity. We know that the action or the words in this case had a clear negative impact on people. But I don't think good morning is a good example of that. Now, if you call somebody an SOB, okay, okay, clearly no one likes to be called an SOB. Like nobody. There might be some crazy people out there, but you know what I'm saying. Most people will not like it. So calling somebody an SOB is clearly immoral, has a clear negative impact on someone. People get offended, right? Now, let's say, okay, let's say somebody thinks, because there are many people who think morality is about like the kind of clothes you wear. Like I've heard people saying those kind of things, like, oh, like wearing very revealing clothes, wearing a miniskirt. Okay, it's immoral. And I'm like, why is that immoral? Like if I see a young lady wearing a miniskirt, maybe okay, it will have very little or no impact in my life, either positive or negative. Some people might like it, might like to see a young lady with a miniskirt, okay, and might appreciate it. Other people might not. But you see what I'm saying? The impact is not clear. And on the other hand, you don't see a direct person receiving an action like helping someone changing a tire or helping someone with packages or telling someone directly, hey, an SOB, right? So with somebody wearing clothes, like, okay, you might think it's moral, but that is a subjective view. It's not an objective view. I will not consider that an action that falls within the domain of morality. Just like scratching my shoulder, like, okay, who is negatively affected or positively affected by me scratching my shoulder? Nobody. So you see, there's a lot of things that we do, a lot of actions that has zero moral value. But what it takes to have a moral action is, again, clear, positive, or negative impact. That's what it is. So now that's morality. Okay, so now we understand what is a moral action and what it's not. Now ethics. Ethics is, technically speaking, is the study of morality, the study of moral actions. And yeah, philosophers do that, right? Ethics, I do it, I teach it for a living. And in ethics, you do all sorts of interesting analysis of moral actions, and we analyze moral theories, which are accounts, explanations of morality that are or tend to be very rational, very coherent. It's like systems that tries to understand morality, and through these systems you can arguably know a lot about morality. Okay, we're not going to be doing that exactly in this lesson, lesson number 6. We're going to be doing some analysis of morality, but we're not going to be doing ethics proper. Now, the use of the word ethics as it is on the screen, the existentialist ethics, okay, that means something different. Okay, this is when we use this term, especially in the plural, ethics, with an S, um, just like the feminist ethics, that's another example of a position on morality, right? The feminist position. When we use this term, feminist ethics, existentialist ethics, what we try to describe, what it's being described, is not a system with a very neat set of principles and with a very neat structure. No, it's more like a description of the main attitudes, the main concerns of a particular group or particular philosophy. So, for example, the feminist ethics is not a coherent system. No, it's just basically an account or an explanation of what are the main concerns, the main mindset and attitudes regarding morality from the perspective of the feminist. I hope that makes sense. So the same thing with the existentialist ethics. There is not a system that it's very neat, that it's well structured with a concrete set of principles and ideas. No, that's not existentialism. That would be a moral theory. But the existentialist ethics is simply a description of the main attitudes and the main concerns in existentialism. Meaning, if you pick any existential philosopher or any existential philosophy, because there's a few, they all share the same attitudes and concerns regarding morality. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Quite technical, but I felt the need to start this video, this lesson, with this introduction, explaining our terms, what do we mean by morality, by ethics, and by the existentialist ethics. So having said that, I think we're ready for our well, actually second video. This is the first one. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.